Yo, what's up guys? So we're here to showcase off a Nekroz mirror match utilizing the new 2019 Banlist. Nekroz is a deck though, if I showed it against like a normal deck, it could be like a instant win. Like you could Zaborg someone and instantly win the duel. Speaking of like winning the duel, I've been playing Chaos Max once in a while because the Herald of Arc Light, this card over here, just got reprinted. This card was actually quite an expensive card before the reprint, and I needed 3 of them anyways. I just finally got my hands on the rest. But anyways, going back to what I was saying, like if you Zaborg your opponent here, the triple searches off of Arc Light, you can get multiple searches off of Totally Awesome, and then on top of that, in chess can be popping cards like your opponent will just quit on you. But in the mirror match, this opens up the doors for more interesting plays because you really don't need your extra deck, and on top of that, Unicorn is not going to be doing really too much because, well, you're not going to be really trying to go for anything in, of course, the extra deck in this deck, with the exception of one card, which I'll get into later on. But this card can just shut down a deck. You literally can summon Unicorn, and they'll just instantly just be like, okay, I'm quitting. But here's the Zaborg, big boy plays over here, so he's going to go ahead and pop a bunch of cards in his extra deck, and he's going to go ahead and get all those effects. I mean, look at these chains. And if you thought this was a pretty big chain link start, just wait till you see what you can do with, of course, the addition of Zaborg. Because Nekroz was one of the best decks at a time. But look how many cards he has in his hand. This is insane. But on top of that, guys, if you were to play against a normal deck, being able to just send a bunch of cards from your opponent's extra deck to the grave, they might just quit. A lot of decks won't have that ability to reoccur and bring back things, but of course, don't try to OTK another Nekroz in the mirror match, or just in general, because Valk is always going to be there. Also, Trisha technically went to multiple, not the Ritual, but of course the Synchro monster, but you're not going to be really making that in the deck. You technically can if you want to, but look at these Zaborg plays. They're just so insane. With the triple searches with the Arc Light, the Enchest going to be able to pop multiple cards. Look at this. Look at, we're at chain link 7 and then 8, 9. I mean, dude, you throw that chain strike game, like, dude, you can do some crazy stuff with this potentially. If you want to do some type of a cheese, like, you know, OTK with Nekroz. But once again, this is one of the best decks at one point, and they've gotten a bunch of stuff. The incantations are so great for any Ritual variants. And then on top of that, you have Totally Awesome. That's basically like a newer card too. That wasn't out at the time because yeah, it just wasn't out. But anyways, now we have Omega. Gonna go ahead and reset some of the cards. We got the Kaleidoscope. Gonna go ahead and summon the Valk. He's gonna go ahead and search out. He's gonna go ahead and get rid of some cards, draw some cards. Go ahead and go for the incantations. And there we go, there's that Zaborg, but now we don't really have any options to go for too many things. So you still have that option to just, you know, get rid of a opponent's monster here. But there's also Decisive Armor. Remember, this was the out to the like big boys at the time. For example, like the Towers for Cleese, that was a really good option as well. So your Pot of Stupidity taking the W here, but like a lot of big plays here. Again, don't try to OTK this deck because they always have Valkyries. Always, man. But anyways, now that you guys have seen in gameplay, I want to give you guys both deck profiles, kind of talk a little bit more about certain things that you can do in the deck, because you don't really need your extra deck. There happens to be like one card that you can technically make. You can go for a lot of Link monsters, but the problem is the incantations don't really allow you to do that, and because you want to actually go for Zaborg, what's going to make this deck competitive, honestly, is not only the addition of having 2 Shrit off of the new ban list, but in addition to that, everything else kind of took a hit here, and that's going to make this deck a little bit more stronger. But anyways, I'm going to give you guys the deck profiles for both of them, and shouts to both of you guys for both playing some new variant of Nekroz, again, using that new ban list. But anyways, let's go ahead and hop right into it. So, 3 copies of Zaborg. I mean, if you can Zaborg your opponent turn 1, again, you just have, like, I would say maybe like a 50% chance to win the game, depending on what you're playing against. This is just huge. And then on top of that, you can cycle through so many cards. It's crazy. I mean, you were talking pop 3, add 3. Like, what else can you do that in Yu-Gi-Oh, right? And then on top of that, you have this, and if you can just make Unicorn, and you know what your opponent's playing, maybe they went first. I think I want to make some suggestions for this deck in case any of you guys do want to play it. Specifically in Permanent Star Hull and Regeki could be great, because if they make a card where it says you can't search, well, this deck has a lot of problems against that. Your only other option is maybe Zaborg. Hope you can actually pull that off, but if they have any sort of negation, it's just a GG. But 3 copies of Zaborg, 2 copies of Talismandra, 3 copies of Bookstone. This card is actually very important to at least play one of. I know some people don't like playing multiple copies of Bookstone, myself included, but I will always at least play one. 1. The reason why is because if you match up against something that requires you, like basically Secret Village of the Spellcasters, this card just makes it so easy. Otherwise, you literally cannot Yugioh with this deck at all. Your only other option is maybe go for Zaborg. I mean, this card really saves the day. But I think Dark Hole and Permanents are just great. Basically, Raigeki first, but then Dark Hole would be great as well. Because again, you need to bait out one of your opponent's like negations, because sometimes you just don't have the follow-up play, especially if they can go for like Thunder Dragon. Like when you can't search in this deck, it falls apart. Anyways, 2 copies of Candle, 2 copies of Shrit, obviously with a new ban list, 3 copies of the Pencil Plume. This is all due to Zaborg requiring the lights. 2 copies of Trish, 3 copies of Valk, 3 copies of Child Slime, 1 copy of Gungnir. This card pretty much got outclassed. It can protect some of your cards, specifically this card. I know some people don't really like playing Gungnir. If you want to drop it, go ahead. But sometimes, again, this is like the one card that your opponent will just have to get rid of, and they'll put all their resources into getting rid of that card. And if it doesn't work, well, just protect it with Gungnir, and they lose. Then we have Brio, and then, of course, 2 copies of Cult Solace, Reinforcement of the Army, and then we have 2 copies of Extravagance. Again, you don't really need your extra deck in here, but I really like having this for the targets. But with this, yeah, it is random, so good luck with the RNG, boys. Then we have 3 of the Preparation, and then we have Mirror, Kaleidoscope, and Cycle. I think this is pretty much the go-to ratio for most people. In fact, looking at the OCG list, I mean, a lot of them are only playing 2 anyways, of course, Cycle, because, well, you can only play it. But in the TCG, we have a different list. But as far as extra deck, we have Terraria. This card, the most important cards is really just going to be these. I'll put the most important cards down here. The rest of the card, they are kind of technically there as options. But for the most part, these are the important cards which are in chest. Arclight, which also, like I said before, just got reprinted. And then, of course, you're totally awesome to reset and go for those other water monsters. And then on top of that, we have the Omega. And then Terraria, Quasar, Bilbius, Brio, Nymph. And then the other build, because there was 2 different builds here, they're pretty similar. This one is just plain Called by the Grave, while that one wasn't. And then on top of that, we have some difference in some of the amounts of cards. But as far as the extra deck, it's pretty much the same. I mean, remember when people used to make this against certain decks that like required target, just make this and it's just like GG. Back a long time ago with BA, this was kind of the case. And then a Star Eater was also a pretty cool card. Back in the time, I feel like most of these cards just got outclassed when Nekroz was at its like prime, but now the deck is looking a lot better. But pretty much the same extra deck. As far as the other build here, choose Zaborg. I really think you should play 3 copies of Zaborg. The card is just incredibly good, simply due to the fact of you can just win turn 1 if you go first. If you happen to Zaborg or Unicorn, those are both GG cards. It's just 2 Talismandra, 3 copies of Bookstone, 2 copies of the Candle. This one's only playing 1 Shrit. I think 2 Shrit is kind of the go-to card. I mean, this is one of their best cards. And then Pencil Plume, of course, for the Zaborg. Then this one decided to play Decisive Armor. There are a few decks that will bust out a monster. It's just like, it's just difficult to get over. And so this can definitely help out. It's not too bad at 1. This or Gungnir, those are kind of like techie-ish cards, I would say, in the deck. Then we have 2 copies of Trishula, 3 copies of Valk, 3 Child Slime, and then Gungnir, 3 copies of Brio, Unicorn, 2 Colossus, and then Prep, Rights, Mirror, Kaleidoscope, Cycle. This is pretty much the go-to ratio. Is 2-2-1, and then of course the Designator. So as far as like I can give for suggestions, in case anyone does want to run this deck, I would really suggest Impermanence. This card, Dark Hole, Raigeki. Again, I feel like if you go second, if there's so many negations, this deck can suffer from just like losing out too much, or even like, you know, if Macrocosmos comes out, like there could be a lot of things that just go wrong in this deck, and that's just kind of normal in any ritual-based deck, because they need both of the cards, and when you stop them from searching, I know Thunder King's not like the most meta thing, but you know that Thunder Dragon Colossus is a pretty common card. Okay, there we go. This card, yeah, this card's a pretty common card for people to make, and I just think that you need something to stop this. You cannot, however, run Instant Fusion. That's always my go-to card. Whenever there's like a card that's a problematic, just run Instant Fusion, but you can't do it in this deck because of course, the all the incantations have the effect where, like, where is it? You cannot special summon monsters from the extra deck. So that's kind of unfortunate. I don't really feel like there's a very specific link monster that is really important, but sometimes what does happen, guys, is if you go for like double of these and you don't use them as material, because of course Shrit can be used as the entire material, you can leave these on board to kind of defend yourself, but just make sure you're not playing against Chaos Mats, because they will one-shot you because of the double piercing damage. But I think that when you're making like these cards and they stay on the board, you can technically run another Link monster if you want to, and depending on what build you want to go for. Again, you can make some of these, but these are the core important cards, and I think adding these like impermanent Dark Hole Regeki can also be good. If you want to drop some of the other techie cards, I think that'd be a good option if you guys want some suggestions for builds. But again, shout out to both of you guys for both playing Nekroz. But I think impermanents would really help out both of your decks, in case you do happen to go second. But yeah, like I said, as far as the extra deck, adding other cards to potentially get rid of back row can be important as well. Still, people will be playing Mystic Mine, and like honestly, if they activate a Mystic Mine, like what would you do? And it's not going to be looking too good. So I think Twin Twisters can be okay. Again, so you can kind of utilize some of the cards in the graveyard because, well, the Nekroz can definitely cycle quite well, Kappa. But anyways, I feel like I'm ranting here. But let me know, guys, what you would change in the 2019 Nekroz builds from both of them that you guys saw. I've already mentioned the suggestions that I have because this card is still very, very powerful. But anyways, thanks for watching, guys. Hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, drop a like on it. And if you're new here, hit the subscribe button and turn on that bell so you don't miss out on new Yu-Gi-Oh decks. So we're going to be covering a lot of the new stuff for, of course, the 2019 ban list. And if you guys got any replays of anything from the new ban list, would love to see how you build certain other things. Since everything got nerfed, Nekroz got buffed, and on top of that, the deck is relatively consistent and solid. Again, I just really recommend Zaborg, though, because you need that factor of going first and being able to win, because pretty much every deck, I would say, kind of needs to be able to, like, first turn just win. And with this, you have Zaborg and you have Unicorn for those, like, wins. But anyways, thanks for watching, guys. Have a good day. I'm signing out. Peace.